Oh my god. Let's talk about Invincible episode 1 to 3 with spoilers. Hello everyone, welcome to Invincible Central. My name's MJ and I'm absolutely blown away. I've just watched the 3 episodes of Invincible and I cannot believe how good a job they have done. Let's talk about it. Spoilers, spoiler filled. I've already done non-spoiler reviews, so we're going to go straight into the spoilers. So first of all, opening scene, completely different to the comic book. With the comic book, it opens with the... Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to be talking about spoilers for the comic book and the TV show, so yeah, sorry. So the comic book opens with the bomb subplot, basically. And it's a plot that is not even featured at all in the TV show so far. I think that's good, actually. I think it would just be a bit much to feature it in the TV show, and it feels a bit unbelievable almost. It feels like a bit too coincidental in the comics. So I like this new opening. This new opening gives us straight into like some civilian conversations between some co-workers. Really texturizes the world that these heroes live in and gives us an idea of the actual underlying civilians within it. And because those underlying civilians are killed or in danger in these episodes, it makes you feel for them a lot more. On that note, there is a lot of collateral damage in these first few episodes. And of course, we see this really interesting, it's an interesting plot in the Invincible comic as well, but it was realised on film really well in Civil War, Marvel Captain America's Civil War, where these big superhero battles cause collateral damage, and that has consequences. And I think we're seeing the foundations for that being laid here, with tons of collateral damage being caused and also tons of civilian casualties. So that's really cool. And the big battle of the Guardians of the Globe on the White House in the opening scene, again, absolutely brilliant. It's something that we didn't really get to see in the comic book. So it's great to see the Guardians working as a team, and also how it features all of their powers so well. It puts a really good spotlight on all of them individually. Feels absolutely amazing. Really great stuff, and the animation and the cinematography is really strong. There's some really unique and interesting perspectives here, and it's done really well. At the end of episode 1, we have the big scene. In the comic books, it happens in issue 7, and Kirkman has always said that it's something that he wishes he brought forward in the comics. He actually, I think he specifically says he wishes he did it at least in the first 4 issues, so that it was in the first trade paperback. Because I myself bought the first trade paperback all those years ago, and I thought the comic was good, but I wasn't compelled to read more, and it wasn't until several years later that I heard how good it was that I read more. So I am absolutely chuffed that they brought this huge cliffhanger moment of Nolan murdering or Omni-Man murdering the Guardians of the Globe. I'm so glad that they brought that forward. It feels like the perfect cliffhanger for the first episode, and the way it was done absolutely blew me away. I think the way that it's done in the comic book is quick, sharp, stark, and hugely impactful. It works so well in the comic books, but this adaptation stretches it out. It's a very long scene. They've made it much longer. It's incredibly violent. It is disgustingly violent. It just feels so graphic and intense, and it's done really well. It's another really well choreographed action scene. The cinematography is great, and all of the characters have these different powers, and they're trying to evade Omni-Man in these different ways. And the element of Red Rush trying to save them all is absolutely brilliant. This scene blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. It was incredible. It was beyond perfectly adapted. So speaking of the violence, I think they use it in a brilliant way. You've got the incredibly intense violence of that cliffhanger scene of episode 1, which is, the series should hit some highs like that again. It is known for those super intense violent moments, and that feels like a sort of a tentpole one of those moments. But also it uses varying degrees of violence throughout as well. Like when the Flaxans attack, there's a lot of civilian death. That feels horrible, feels awful. But it's really cool violence as well. And the way that different heroes can take different beatings, like it's funny that Duplicate keeps getting killed because she just can create another copy of herself, whereas some of the other heroes have to be a little bit more careful. Also very brutal as well. In episode 3, when Monster Girl is fighting on Rex, he's getting literally teeth kicked out of him. absolutely brilliant. So, but even just the small moments like Todd beating on Invincible or beating on Mark in school, where you see a little bit of blood come out of his face. So again, really good different levels of violence. In the UK, which is where I'm from, we pronounce Cecil as Cecil. So when I read the comic book, I always read his name as Cecil Stedman. So this is something that I've got to get used to now, that his name is actually Cecil Stedman. Cecil and Donald, both absolutely perfect. In fact, just the way that they animate and have drawn Donald is absolutely perfect. This very stark sort of stumm sort of face, with the glasses being opaque. You never really see his true expression, which is perfect. And of course, it was exactly how it was in the comic book. And he also has a really funny moment when he's next to the kaiju and he does the sort of karate pose. Really funny. There's some brilliant moments in episode 3 again when Rex Flows says, "I'm going to be shitting blood." It comes quite curtly and just out of nowhere, and that had me absolutely pissing myself. So going back to that kaiju moment, actually, it's really interesting to see the elements that they're bringing forward. So it's not until much later in the comic books that we see Cecil and see his sort of "we'll do anything to keep America safe" mantra sort of thing. So keeping villains alive and all that sort of thing, experimenting on villains. We see that hinted at in episode 3 when he says, yeah, keep the kaiju on ice. Really cool stuff. And even just the modernization of the series from the comic book. You know, comic book started 18 years ago. So languages changed and all that sort of thing. Kaiju probably wouldn't have been a very well-known term 18 years ago, but of course everyone knows what that means now. So it's really interesting to see Nolan's facade slip and the change in his personality after murdering the Guardians of the Globe. That's really interesting to see, and that's really cool. And it's also really great to see these small changes that they're making from the comic book. Like, for example, putting the Graysons' house under surveillance. Feels like exactly what they would do, and it adds this extra sort of level of detective work and mystique and intrigue. And Damon Darkblood, Demon Detective, absolutely awesome. He's got a bit of a bigger role in the TV series than he has in the comic books, actually, and it works really well. I like the element of they sort of know when he's around because they start breathing and it's cold. Absolutely brilliant, works really well. And then other little just funny changes, like in the comic book, Mark's favourite comic is called Science Dog, and in the TV show it's called Seance Dog, and he's more of like a Doctor Strange type. That's really great. And then at the end of episode 3 we also get the robot storyline brought forward quite far as well, where as the viewer you don't necessarily know what's going on. He seems to be a bit nefarious, at the very least has let the Mauler twins go. Of course, from having read the comic, we know that he wants to use their genetics, or their knowledge of genetics, to help him with his body. But again, I guess the one thing that I'm not sure about with that is that it might, to the casual viewer, it might mean, God, how many of these people are secretly evil? But I actually kind of like that element as well, because it's a bit of a misdirect. So yeah, wow, really, really good stuff. I'm so impressed with everything we've seen so far. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it too. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.